After Lisa of Blackpink got criticized for wearing braids in one of her music videos, I got a lot of questions on whether or not Asians should be wearing braids in their hair. The answer is yes, it's your hair. You can do whatever you want with it. No one gets to tell you what to do with your hair or any part of your body. The other layer to that is braids also have been a huge part of Asian culture. I'm of course advocating the understanding of the role that braids play in the history and culture of African Americans, but at the same time, I also want others to understand our own culture. I also want the freedom to be able to observe, celebrate, wear our culture, our tradition, and that's why I'm making this video. There was actually a figurine that was found in a cave in France, and it was estimated to be 25,000 years old. And the figurine actually features a woman with braided hair. And so there's no certainty that braids were created or invented or developed by African Americans, and I don't think that they're claiming that. It's just that there are certain hair braid styles that played an important role in their culture and in their history. So okay, that's that. So there, along with that, is the fact that Asian cultures, Asian countries have been wearing braids in their hair for the longest time as well, and it's also part of our culture. On your screens right now, you should start seeing a lot of braided hairs from different Asian cultures, different races, different countries, and this should shed light on the role that braids play in our own Asian history and Asian culture. So cultural appropriation is meaningless to many Asian countries, primarily because as people, we don't really look down on people or other nations or other races. We look up at them. In fact, a lot of us, we try to copy them because we want to be more like them, but it was never because we're insulting them or we're looking down on them. That's why Western fashion, Western music, Western food, Western culture is making its way to many Asian countries. It's because we appreciate them, we like them, we admire them, and we're trying to copy them. But we don't, as people. Of course, there are exceptions, but as people, we don't insult other nations. And so, for as long as you're doing something without malice, if there is malice, that's what's culture. For me, a personal opinion, for me, cultural appropriation is if you're doing something with malice. But if you find it beautiful or if you're appreciating it, that's not cultural appropriation for me. Now, we do have to respect, though, the point of view of other cultures. It is theirs, and maybe they don't want it to be used by somebody else. So we have to be sensitive towards that. But just going back into the concept of cultural appropriation, let's just remember that that's based on malice. If there is no malice, then everything should be fine. If you walk in Okinawa or in Seoul or in Kuala Lumpur or in Divisoria, these are cities in different countries in Asia. If you walk down the street of those cities wearing a kimono or a hanbok, you might get compliments. Hanbok is so beautiful. You might get compliments, but nobody's going to say, hey, you're appropriating our culture. I think in that way, because of how I explained it, because of what I explained, it's actually beautiful that concept doesn't exist, because we don't need it, because we don't appropriate, because we don't insult, and there's no malice. We do things because we find it beautiful, because we admire it, and so I think that's fine. For as long as for as long as we are doing it because we find it beautiful, we're appreciating it, we're admiring it, then it should be fine. And that goes, and personally, if I see somebody showing up in a Halloween costume party wearing an ifugao bahag complete with a spear, I am totally fine, for as long as you're not doing it because you're insulting our ifugao brothers and sisters. So yeah, it's I think it is beautiful that in Asia it doesn't exist, and I think it should remain that. But going back to the braids, the question of the braids, yes, you can wear it. It has always been a part of Asian culture. Just to remember that there are certain braiding style that I think were specifically used that specifically played an important part in the culture of African Americans. And in fairness to them, they're not saying that they invented braiding. They didn't say that. They're not saying that. I've never heard any African Americans saying it. They just said that the specific hairstyles, braiding styles, were used, were of significance to their history and their culture. And so we just need to be sensitive towards that. But braiding in general, it's being used by Asians for hundreds and thousands and millions of years, and we shouldn't stop wearing it as a hairstyle.